I am going to talk about the religion of the Adivasi, the faith of the Adivasi. Many sociologists and historians have said that the term religion, which stands for a structured religion, should not be used for Adivasi faith. So, I am aware of this nuanced understanding, and I largely agree with it, that the term religion sometimes fails to capture the nuances of the Adivasi community. But we are using this term because it is popular and we do not have much alternatives. Friends, Adivasi, the indigenous people of India, are in millions. Their population is around 8% of the total population. So, what I am today going to discuss is, what is this Adivasi religion? What is this Adivasi Dharma? What is this Adivasi faith? And here I am going to draw upon the writings of Dr. Ram Dayal Munda. Dr. Ram Dayal Munda was eminent scholars, cultural activist, political activist, and he has written several books, Hindi, English. He has studied anthropology at Chicago University, and recently I have come across his book आदिवासी अस्तित्व और झारखंडी अस्मिता के सवाल. The book is about Adivasi identity and the struggle of Adivasi to get autonomy in the form of a separate state, Jharkhand. Friends, Jharkhand was created from Bihar around 2000, and now it is a separate state, but still Adivasi scholars, activists, Adivasi people think that their fight for greater Jharkhand, their fight for more and more autonomy for the Adivasi people have not been realized, despite the fact that a separate state has been created. Ram Dayal Munda was one of the leading activists who struggled for a separate, autonomous and powerful state as far as the rights of Adivasis is concerned, and he wrote a lot on different aspects of Adivasi culture, Adivasi religion. His book Adi Dharma is about Adivasi religion. It is a thick book, and in that book Adivasi Dharma, he has discussed this topic in great detail. But the book which I am holding right now is Adivasi Astitva और झारखंडी अस्मिता के सवाल. This book was published by Prakashan Sansthan, New Delhi in the year 2002, and the second edition was reprinted in 2004. This is the book. So, there is a chapter in this book about Adivasi Dharma. Adi Dharma, he used the term, and I am going to get some facts, get some insights from Dr. Ramdayal Munda, and I would try to bring this insight to you. I would like to share this insight to you, and the purpose of making such presentation is to know about Adivasi culture, and by knowing about Adivasi culture, indigenous culture, and more diversity, we will be able to appreciate the pluralism of this country. Generally, the mainstream media, which is being backed up by the ruling elite, is creating a narrative that India belongs to one particular religion, India belongs to one particular language, and India belongs to one particular region. That majoritarian tendency, the majoritarianism, can better be critiqued, can better be checked if we try to understand, if you try to go into the cultural diversity on the ground. We have to keep in mind that Adivasis are in millions, but in census report they are not given the option to identify themselves as those following Sarna Dharma or those following indigenous faith. There are 3 and 4 columns: Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, and others. So if you do not want to, if you are Adivasi and if your faith is different from Hindu religion, and if you want to identify yourself as the person, as the member, as the indigenous community member professing Sarna Dharma, Adivasi Dharma, that option is not there. You have to choose other. So why the vague category of other? Why it is trying to erase the identity of Adivasi? India is a secular country, and the fundamental rights guarantee religious freedom, but Adivasis are still fighting for their rights to be identified as members of Sarna or indigenous religion. And there is a conspiracy that if the other category is there, then later or sooner they will be assimilated into the majority religion. That is why I have decided to make this presentation and learn from Ramdayal Munda, the eminent scholar of Adivasi Dharma, Adivasi faith. Learn from him what is this Adivasi religion, and that is why I have picked up his work. So let me come to the main topic. So Ramdayal Munda has said, what is this? He has used the term Adi Dharma. Adi Dharma. Those who do not understand Hindi, Adi, you could say something which is very ancient, which is very old, and Dharma is a religion. So Adi Dharma, if I have to translate, I would translate it as indigenous faith. So he has said that Adi Dharma, or the faith of Adivasi community, the indigenous community, has been identified, has been called as animism, animist religion, primitivism, primitive religion, aboriginal religion, Adivasi Dharma, Janjati Dharma, Sarnaism, Sarna Dharma, Bogaism, etc. This fact is conveniently ignored by the mainstream media, that during the colonial time the indigenous people have their right, they had the option to identify themselves as those who have their own separate religion, they have their own Adivasi Dharma, indigenous religion, but that practices in modern, in free India stopped. And you understand why it was stopped, because there was an anxiety among the ruling classes to homogenize the majority community and assimilate those who are not Christians or Muslims into their own faith. So, on the one hand, the exploitations of the resources of the areas inhabited by Adivasi continued. The process was intensified in the name of nation building. At the same time, they were not given the options to identify themselves as members of Adivasi Dharma, and that is why the process began to forcefully assimilate them into majority religion. So Ram Dayal Munda is saying that, look, our faith has been given different names, and even the colonial census process had that options, but that options stopped. And he is, Ram Dayal Munda is very much critical that Adivasi community has a separate cultural identity. Adivasi community has very different faith, but they are forced to identify themselves with the group known as other, Anya, other. Who are those other people? That census report does not want to reveal. So, either you identify with the majority religion, or you get your identity lost in the column of other. And Ram Dayal Munda in his book, in his article, is basically talking about what is this Adivasi Dharma, and he discussed Adivasi Dharma on 3 points. What is its philosophy, what are the ritual practices, and what are the organization, how it is structured. So basically he is looking at 3 aspects to inform us, to educate us about Adi Dharma. He said that to understand Adi Dharma, the religion of the indigenous people, the Adivasi people, one needs to look at its philosophy, the rituals, and also the structure, how it is structured. And he is basically trying to talk about God and universe, on the how the indigenous people relate to God, and he has used the term Parmeshwar and Srishti, that is universe. So according to Adivasis, Parmeshwar, according to Ram Dayal Munda, he is supreme, he is greater than any other god. There is no father and mother of that Parmeshwar, and that Parmeshwar, that God, has created human beings. That Parmeshwar is very powerful, most powerful, and the universe is created by him. He is the creator, and that Parmeshwar, according to the cosmology of the indigenous people, is the friend, is the Sahyogi, is the helper of the human beings. So the concept of God, the concept of Parmeshwar in Adi Dharma is not the relation of master and slave, subordinations, but God is a friend, a Sahyogi Mitra. Sahyogi Mitra means a friend who is helping you. So the God is a helping friend. God is a friend who helps the people. So the first thing which has come to my mind is that Ramdayal Munda is saying that there is no subordination. There is no subordination between God and the created. God, Parameshwar. I also want to make it clear that if God is the correct translation of Parameshwar, that can be disputed. And I am aware of those controversies and those complexities, but please pardon me for using God because I do not have alternative. So in his word, in the word of in the understanding of Ramdayal Munda, he has used the term Parameshwar, Parameshwar, and that is why I am using God. So God or Parameshwar, in the eyes of in the understanding of Ramdayal Munda, is the embodiment of kindness, love and cooperation. So the relationship between God and the people, the followers, are not that of masters and slaves, but it is just like a friend. It is based on cooperation, kindness, and it is being accepted that God has created everything. Now, how the earth has been created? What is the origin of the earth? What is the cosmology of indigenous religion? Ramdayal Munda has said that according to Adi Dharma, everywhere there was water, sea was everywhere, and after that fish and earthworm were asked by God to bring soil from the beneath of the water, and that is how the soil was brought and the earth was created. So it was due to the efforts of the fish and the earthworm, and they acted upon the advice, upon the instructions of the God. Then came sun. Sun dried the earth and made it solid, and after that the wife of the God has labeled the earth, which were not even earlier, and then those portions which were left out, which could not be made even, they remained as mountains, and those portions which were left out, some of them remained as rivers, and slowly plants, trees, grasses, they grew. The vegetables grew slowly. So what Ramdayal Munda is trying to say here, that God created the earth, and earlier there was only sea and water everywhere, and with the efforts of fish and earthworm, the soil was brought out, and that became later earth, and the earth was dried up by sun, and the wife of the god created was instrumental in leveling the earth, and those parts which were left out, they remained as mountains and rivers. And the god has created human being not as his slave, but according to indigenous religion, God has created human being from soil. Both human beings means male and female, and then he breathed life into him. And one thing is very clear here, that men and women both have been made from the soil. So there is some kind of gender equality also. There is no gender inequality because both are made from the same content. Earlier they were brothers and sisters. So when they drank hadiya, God taught them to drink hadiya, and after eating that hadiya, the brothers and sisters, they become wife and husbands, and slowly the human beings developed, the race developed out of the meeting of the male and the female. That God created human beings to end his solitude. So he has used the term that परमेश्वर ने अपनी एकांतिकता मिटाने के लिए पृथ्वी के अंश मिट्टी से नर और नारी का निर्माण किया, which means that God has created men and women from the earth, from the soil of the earth, to address his state of being solitude, to fight out his being alone. So you could see here that human beings, in my understanding, what Ramdayal Munda is trying to say is that human being is created to be the companion of the God. There is no hierarchical relations between God and his created. And one interesting thing, that human beings, both men and women, they are created from the soil, and that soil was brought out by three creatures: fish, earthworms, and crab. So you could see here that cosmology, the Adivasi cosmology, is very much egalitarian. And Ramdayal Munda is also saying that God has also created other living beings, flora and fauna, animals, birds, plants. And he is also saying that in Adivasi religion, the best fruit is bale, and the best vegetable is koenar sag. The God has also created different stars, planets. These are all about the creations of the God. So you could see here that the Adivasi indigenous faith is very much different from other major religions. The major religions, put human beings, in my limited understanding, as the servant of the God. But here the masters and the slaves relationships are not here. The human beings are the companions of the God. There is also very diluted notion of pap and punya, sin, the great act, or it is negation of the idea of paradise and hell. According to Adivasi faith, Adi Dharma, doing bad acts, doing acts that are harmful to the well-being of the society is sin, and doing something which is good for the society is great act. So basically, if you read major religions, you will find that not following the commandments of the superpower, not following the rituals, are considered to be the major acts of sin. But here in the Adivasi philosophy, in the Adivasi cosmology, your act which is not serving the well-being of the community is sin, is papa, and something that you do good for the society, for the well-being of the people, that is great act, that is holy act. And Adivasi community believes that if a person has died, he or she does not go to hell or paradise. There is also no concept of rebirth, but that person comes back to reside in the house of his children, and the person who is dead is residing in the very house where he has been living with his or her children. The dead is unseen, the dead is not seen by the living beings, but the dead is seeing everybody. So रामदयाल मुंडा writes, मृत्यु के बाद आदमी वापस आता है और अपने घर. The person who has died after death comes back to his house. After death, he cannot be seen, but the person who has died is able to see everybody. And that is why Ramdayal Munda has said that there is no concept of punarvapsi, there is no concept of rebirth, there is no concept of reborn in Adivasi community. So you could see that the dead, the person who has died, is living along with the family, is very much part of the family in that cosmology. And that is why Ramdayal Munda has said somewhere that Adivasi community believes that their purkha, their ancestors who are living along with them in their house, they are watching their acts, and that is why they fear doing any wrong acts, because they believe that if you do anything bad, their ancestors, they are watching and they will be very sad to see it. So you could see here that Adivasi faith, Adivasi religion is very much different. It is a different way of approaching faith, approaching religion. But unfortunately, Adivasi community is not given the options to identify themselves as the member of indigenous faith. Ramdayal Munda has also talked about that rituals practiced by the Adivasi community, the festivals, and he has said that, if I have to wind it up, he said that the faith of the Adivasi community, their festival, they are very much linked with social, agricultural activities. the rituals are very much linked with environment, the protections of environment, the agricultural life, their pastoral life, their way of living. There is no such centrality of pleasing the God and the centrality of indulging in great rituals, rather than Adivasi religion, in my understanding, after reading Ramdayal Munda, is very much celebration of the life without any concern about dominating other community, establishing victory over evil, annihilating others, establishing their dominance. You look at other religions, the evil, the enemy, the violence are very much part of that faith, of that rituals. But here there is no such bloodbath, there is no such desire, anxiety to dominate other, but rather the festivals, the rituals are very much related to Adivasi way of life. It is about their social life, it is about their economic activities, it is about their agriculture, it is about the way they relate to nature. So there is nothing unnatural, there is nothing so great, so solemn. It is the celebration of everyday life. So there are some festivals in Adivasi community, Sarhul. Then there are other festivals like Karam. So the Karam for Ramdayal Munda is a festival of agriculture. There is also the festival called Sohrai, which is about the celebration of their pastoral, their life, which is around animals. During this Sohrai, they get their cattle, their cows, their other animals to water body, and then the animals are given proper bath, and then there is some decorations also, and they play with that animal. So it is the celebration of that agricultural life. So I would like here to read out some of the poems, and I would first read out it is in Hindi because it is written in Hindi, and I'll try to translate it into English. हे स्वर्ग के परमेश्वर, पृथ्वी की धरती माता, दूध की तरह उगने वाली, दही की तरह डूबने वाली, चारों कोने, दसों दिशाएं, उत्तर दक्षिण पूर्व पश्चिम, झिलमिल धरती, झुका हुआ आसमान, चटाई की तरह बिछी हुई, कटोरी की तरह ढका हुआ, गाछ वृक्ष पशु पक्षी, वन पहाड़ नदी मैदान, तुम्हारे ही सृष्टि, तुम्हारे ही उत्पत्ति, तुम ही से टिका है, तुम ही सुरक्षित है. You could see here that the superpower, the God, is not to be found in any concrete structure. There is no fight over the religious places, which is happening in many parts of the world, including India. Demolish the religious places of one community and build on it the religious places of another community. That fight is not there. God is not to be discovered from any particular structure, from great buildings, and it is also not there in the textual interpretation. It is very much there in nature. The manifestation of trees, rivers, mountains, these are all manifestations of God. Animals, birds, these are the manifestations of God. The God cannot be reduced to a particular place. So you could see here that the understanding of religion is very much environmental friendly. Let me read some more passages. हम यही विनती करते हैं हमारी खेती कृषि हमारी पशु लक्ष्मी दिनों दिन बढ़ती जाए, दिनों दिन विकसित हो, हमारे चलने के रास्ते में निकलने की राह पर बाघ का डर न हो, सांप का भय न हो, कोई खोंच न हो, कोई ठोकर न हो, हमारे बीच से आपसी द्वेष, आपस में लोभ क्रोध जड़ से समाप्त हो जाए, आमूल नष्ट हो जाएं, रोग दुख दर्द व्यथा जिधर से जाएं, जिधर से पहुँचे उधर ही लौट जाएं, घर की वापसी जाएं, तुम सभी देवताओं से, तुम सभी देवियों से हम यही आशा करते हैं, यही उम्मीद करते हैं, जोहार जोहार जोहार. Basically, this prayer is about how the human beings can be freed from the disease, from the danger of the lion, from tiger, from the snake, and how could they live a happy and prosperous life. There is no concept of enmity, there is no concept of dominating others, there is no concept of establishing something, the larger truth, rather than it is the celebrations of the everydayness. So if I have to summarize the concept of Adi Dharma, the indigenous religion, indigenous faith, I would say, drawing on Munda's scholarship, the term Parameshwar, God, has been differently called by Adivasis. They are called Dharmesh, Singh Bonga, Chando Bonga. And the idea of God is very much is a social manifestation of the God. The relationship between God and the created is very cordial, very friendly. Adi Dharma is less influenced by the idea of sin and holy act, paradise and law, paradise and hell. And another important thing is that Adivasi religion is not mediated through the clergy class. There is no middleman. Adi Dharma stands for harmony, coexistence with nature. It is also not based on the concept of prophethood. There is no such concept of prophet coming or social reformer coming. So friends, this is the concept of indigenous religion, Adi Dharma, as taught by the eminent scholar Ramdayal Munda. I have tried to summarize it. I have tried to bring some important facts to you. And if you want to know more about it in great detail, you should read his book Adi Dharma. Thank you very much.